The weight of an entire person suddenly crashed into Nathan James' arms, nearly sending him tumbling backward onto the ice-covered sidewalk. His reflexes, honed by years of catching his daughter's falls, activated instantly. "I've got you," he said, stabilizing his footing as he looked down at the woman in his arms. Her eyes were wide with shock, expensive mascara making them look even larger against her pale skin. "Oh my God," she gasped, clinging to the front of his worn wool coat. "I thought I was going to crack my skull open." Nathan carefully helped her regain her balance, making sure she was steady on the treacherous ice before letting go. "These sidewalks are lethal today. Are you okay?" The woman straightened her posture and adjusted her camel hair coat that probably cost more than Nathan's monthly rent. "I'm fine, thanks to you." She pushed a strand of auburn hair behind her ear and extended a gloved hand. "Gabriella Valenti." "Nathan James," he replied, accepting her handshake. "And this is my daughter, Lily." The 7-year-old who had been quietly standing behind her father now peered around his legs, her pink mittens clutching the fabric of his jeans. "You almost went boom," Lily observed with the frankness only children possess. Gabriella smiled, the tension in her face softening as she bent slightly to address the child. "I certainly did. Your daddy has very strong arms." "He has to," Lily said matter-of-factly. "He carries me when I'm tired, and sometimes he carries all our groceries at once, so we only have to make one trip." Nathan felt a flush of embarrassment creep up his neck. "Lil, I'm sure Miss Valenti doesn't need our life story." "Actually," Gabriella said, "I'd love to thank you both properly." "Is there a cafe nearby? I could buy you hot chocolate." She glanced at her delicate wristwatch. "I have a bit of time before my next meeting." Nathan hesitated. He'd planned to take Lily straight home after their trip to the library, their Saturday ritual that didn't cost a dime. But the hopeful look on his daughter's face at the mention of hot chocolate made the decision for him. "There's a place around the corner," he said. "Nothing fancy, but they make good cocoa." Gabriella's smile widened. "Perfect." The cafe was warm and smelled of cinnamon and coffee. Nathan tried not to think about how out of place they must look him in his threadbare coat, Lily in her second-hand winter gear, sitting across from a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a luxury magazine. The diamond studs in Gabriella's ears probably cost more than his car. "So what do you do, Nathan?" Gabriella asked as she removed her gloves, revealing impeccably manicured nails. "I'm a carpenter," he replied, helping Lily blow on her hot chocolate to cool it down. "Custom furniture mostly, some restoration work when I can get it." "He makes the prettiest tables," Lily chimed in, "and he built my bed that looks like a castle." Gabriella's eyes lit up with genuine interest. "Really? I've been looking for someone to create custom pieces for a renovation project. Do you have a business card?" Nathan felt his stomach tighten. "I don't, actually. I mostly work through word of mouth." The truth was, he couldn't afford proper business cards, and the cheap ones he'd printed at home had run out months ago. If Gabriella noticed his discomfort, she didn't show it. Instead, she pulled a sleek business card case from her purse and extracted a card. "Well, here's mine. I'd love to see your work sometime." The card was heavy, embossed with Valenti Developments and her name beneath it, CEO. Nathan tucked it carefully into his wallet. "So you build things?" Lily asked Gabriella, chocolate foam dotting her upper lip. Gabriella laughed. "In a way. My company renovates old buildings and turns them into new spaces, homes, offices, shops. Like fixing them up so they're pretty again," Lily clarified. "Exactly like that," Gabriella confirmed. "Right now, I'm working on an old factory building downtown. It's going to become apartments and shops." Nathan found himself genuinely interested. "The Morrison Building, on 8th Street, Gabriella's eyebrows rose. "You know it." "I did some work there years ago, before the previous owner went bankrupt. Beautiful bones on that building. Those exposed beams are original old-growth timber." "That's precisely why I bought it," Gabriella said, leaning forward. "Those architectural details are irreplaceable." but finding craftsmen who understand how to work with them has been challenging. For the next hour, Nathan forgot about the gulf between their financial situations as they discussed architecture, craftsmanship, and restoration philosophy. Lily, content with her second hot chocolate and a cookie, quietly drew pictures on a napkin. When Gabriella's phone chimed with a reminder, she looked genuinely disappointed. "I have to go," she said, gathering her things. "But I meant what I said about your work, Nathan. Would you consider coming by the Morrison site? I'd like your opinion on some of the woodwork we're trying to preserve." Nathan hesitated. Was this a professional courtesy or something else? He couldn't tell, but the potential for work was too good to pass up. "I could do that," he said. "When?" "Monday afternoon, around 3. I know that might be during work hours. I can make that work," Nathan interrupted, not wanting to admit that his current project had just wrapped up, and he didn't have anything else lined up. "Perfect." Gabriella's smile seemed to brighten the entire cafe. She knelt down to Lily's level. "It was lovely meeting you, Miss Lily. Thank you for sharing your hot chocolate time with me," Lily beamed. "You're welcome. Are you going to be my daddy's friend now?" The question hung in the air for a moment before Gabriella answered with a gentle smile. "I'd like that very much." After she left, Nathan stared at the business card, turning it over in his fingers. Lily looked up from her drawing. "I like her, Daddy. She smells like the fancy soap Aunt Jenny gave us for Christmas." Nathan chuckled and tucked the card safely away. "Come on, Munchkin. Let's head home." The weekend passed in a blur of domestic routines, laundry, meal prep for the week ahead, helping Lily with her homework. By Monday morning, Nathan found himself staring at his closet, suddenly aware of how inadequate his wardrobe was for meeting a CEO at her construction site. He settled on his cleanest jeans and a button-up shirt that didn't have any visible wear at the collar. After dropping Lily at school, he spent the morning in his small workshop in the garage, finishing up a side table commission that would cover next week's groceries. His phone pinged with a text from his sister Jenny, who would be picking Lily up from school, a regular arrangement that allowed him to work later when needed. By the time he parked his aging pickup truck near the Morrison building, Nathan had nearly talked himself out of going. What was he doing here? Gabriella Valenti moved in circles so far removed from his that they might as well be different planets. The construction site was bustling with activity. Nathan approached the foreman's trailer, where he was directed to the 3rd floor. As he climbed the stairs, the sound of Gabriella's voice carried down the stairwell. "No, absolutely not. We are not covering those beams with drywall. The entire point of this restoration is to highlight the original craftsmanship." Nathan paused at the top of the stairs, watching as Gabriella gestured emphatically, facing down a man in an expensive suit who looked thoroughly unconvinced. "Miss Valenti, I understand the aesthetic appeal, but the cost of properly restoring all these beams versus covering most of them is worth it," she interrupted firmly. "This isn't about cutting corners for profit. This building has stood for over a century. It deserves respect." The man looked like he wanted to argue further but noticed Nathan standing there. Gabriella turned, her expression transforming from frustration to pleasure so quickly it was almost dizzying. "Nathan, you made it." She crossed to him, extending her hand. Today she wore fitted jeans, a simple white blouse, and a tailored blazer dressed down compared to Saturday but still exuding effortless elegance. "Thank you for coming." "Sorry if I'm interrupting," Nathan said, suddenly self-conscious. "Not at all. This is perfect timing." She turned to the suit-wearing man. "Richard, this is Nathan James, the craftsman I mentioned. Nathan, this is Richard Porter, my head of finance who thinks numbers matter more than soul." Richard gave a tight smile. "I prefer to think of it as fiscal responsibility, but point taken." He nodded at Nathan. "Perhaps you can talk some sense into her about the restoration budget." "I'd rather have his expertise on what's possible," Gabriella countered. "Nathan, would you mind looking at these beams with me? I want your honest assessment." For the next hour, Nathan found himself walking through the massive space, examining joinery, testing wood for rot, and discussing restoration techniques. He forgot his nervousness as he slipped into the familiar territory of his craft. Gabriella listened intently to everything he said, asking intelligent questions that revealed her genuine passion for the project. "So what's your verdict?" she finally asked as they stood in what would become the building's central atrium. "Am I crazy to want to restore rather than replace?" Nathan ran his hand along a massive support beam. "Not crazy at all. These are old-growth Douglas fir. You literally can't buy this quality of wood anymore. The tight grain pattern, the strength. They don't make trees like this anymore because we don't let them grow long enough." "That's exactly what I've been saying," Gabriella exclaimed, her eyes alight with vindication. "But," Nathan continued, "your finance guy isn't entirely wrong about the cost. Proper restoration is expensive and time-consuming. You'd need craftsmen who understand traditional joinery, not just modern construction techniques." Gabriella studied him for a moment. "People like you, people like me," he agreed. "Though I usually work on a smaller scale furniture cabinetry, this would require a team." "Would you be interested in heading that team?" The question was direct, her gaze steady. Nathan blinked in surprise. What? I need someone who understands both the craftsmanship and the value of doing this right. Someone who can communicate that vision to other workers." "From what I've seen and heard today, you're that person." The opportunity was so unexpected that Nathan found himself struggling for words. "I'm not sure I have the experience for something this large, but you have the knowledge and the passion," Gabriella interrupted. "The rest we can figure out together." She named a consulting fee that made Nathan's eyes widen. "Would that work for you? 3 months initially, with the possibility of extension if the project goes well." Nathan thought about his precarious finances, the struggle to find consistent work, Lily's upcoming school expenses. This kind of stability, even temporarily, would be life-changing. "Yes," he said finally, "that would work for me." Gabriella's smile was radiant. "Excellent. Let's go downstairs and talk details. And maybe you can tell me more about that castle bed you built. My goddaughter would love something like that for her birthday." As they descended the stairs, Nathan felt a strange mix of excitement and caution. This opportunity was professional, but he couldn't ignore the flutter in his chest when Gabriella smiled at him or the way her eyes lingered on his when they spoke. He needed this job, but he also needed to keep his head clear and remember the vast differences in their lives. The next few weeks established a new rhythm for Nathan. Mornings were spent at the Morrison building, consulting with contractors and craftsmen, drawing up restoration plans, and often working alongside Gabriella, whose hands-on approach to her projects surprised and impressed him. Afternoons were for his own smaller commissions, and evenings were sacred Lily time. Gabriella respected his schedule without question, never demanding he stay late or work weekends. In fact, she seemed to admire his dedication to his daughter. "She must be very proud of you," Gabriella remarked one day as they reviewed architectural plans in the site office. Nathan looked up, puzzled. "Lily, she's 7. She's proud when she ties her shoes without help." Gabriella laughed, the sound warm in the dusty space. "I meant proud of what you do, the way you create beautiful things with your hands." She gestured to a small wooden box on her desk that Nathan had made from scrap with a simple thank you gift he'd given her last week. "She gets to see her father make art every day." Something about the way she said it made Nathan's chest tighten. "I never thought about it that way. My dad was a carpenter 2/3 generation. To us, it was just work." "Is that why you became a carpenter? Family tradition?" Nathan nodded. "Partly. I also just love the feel of wood, the way it's alive even after it's cut. Every piece has its own character." He felt self-conscious suddenly. "Sorry, that probably sounds ridiculous." "Not at all," Gabriella said softly. "It's beautiful. I grew up in a family where buildings were just assets, things to buy, improve, and sell for profit. It took me years to understand that they're more than that." Their conversation was interrupted by Gabriella's assistant calling about an urgent zoning issue. As she stepped away to take the call, Nathan found himself studying the passionate gestures as she spoke, the determination in her stance, the way she commanded attention without raising her voice. At 36, Nathan had been single since Lily's mother abandoned them when their daughter was barely 2. Dating as a single father had proven nearly impossible, and eventually, he'd stopped trying. His life revolved around Lily and work, and that had seemed enough. Now, watching Gabriella, he realized how much he'd been missing. Earth to Nathan, Gabriella's voice broke into his thoughts. She was standing before him, eyebrows raised in amusement. I lost you there for a minute. He felt heat rise to his face. Sorry, just thinking about the, joinery details for the mezzanine. Her smile suggested she didn't quite believe him. I was saying that I need to check on another site across town tomorrow. Would you mind meeting the lumber supplier without me? They're delivering samples of the reclaimed wood for the flooring. Not a problem, Nathan assured her. I know what to look for. I know you do. That's why I trust you with this. The simple statement held a weight that seemed to fill the space between them. That evening, as Nathan helped Lily with her science project building a model of the solar system, his phone pinged with a text from Gabriella. Would you and Lily like to join me for the street festival downtown this Saturday? They're showcasing local artisans, and I thought you might enjoy it. Plus, I hear they have amazing funnel cakes. Nathan stared at the message, his heart beating faster. This wasn't about work. This was something else. Who's that, Daddy? Lily asked, looking up from her careful painting of Jupiter. It's Gabriella. From my work, he said, keeping his tone casual. She wants to know if we'd like to go to the street festival with her on Saturday. Lily's eyes widened with excitement. The one with the face painting and the cotton candy. Can we go, please? Nathan hesitated. He'd been careful to keep his growing feelings for Gabriella separate from his life with Lily. But the genuine enthusiasm in his daughter's face made the decision for him. Sure, if you want to, he replied, typing a response to Gabriella. I'll let her know we'd love to come. Saturday dawned clear and crisp, perfect weather for the festival. Nathan found himself spending extra time getting ready, changing his shirt twice before settling on a dark blue button-up that Jenny had once told him brought out his eyes. Lily was even more excited, insisting on wearing her favorite polka dot dress with rainbow leggings. They met Gabriella at the festival entrance. She looked different outside of the work context, relaxed in jeans, a soft sweater, and a colorful scarf, her hair loose around her shoulders instead of its usual professional updo. You look pretty, Lily announced immediately upon seeing her. Like a princess who's taking a day off. Gabriella laughed, bending to meet Lily's eyes. That might be the nicest compliment I've ever received. You look pretty spectacular yourself. Nathan watched their interaction, a warm feeling spreading through his chest. The princess is right, he said. You look nice outside of a construction zone. Are you implying I don't look nice covered in plaster dust? Gabriella teased, her eyes sparkling. You'd look nice in a potato sack, Nathan replied before he could stop himself. A slight blush colored Gabriella's cheeks. Careful, Mr. James, or I might think you're flirting with me. Would that be so terrible? The words were out before he could consider them. Something shifted in her expression, surprise, followed by something softer. Not terrible at all, she said quietly. The moment was interrupted by Lily tugging on Nathan's hand. Daddy, can we go see the Bubble Man? He's starting his show. The day unfolded in a kaleidoscope of festival activities. They watched street performers, sampled local food, and visited the artisan booths where Nathan knew several of the woodworkers. Gabriella purchased a small carved bird from one of them, insisting it reminded her of Nathan's work. Except yours is better, she whispered, making him grin with pride. What struck Nathan most was how easily Gabriella fit herself into their dynamic. She never tried to take over with Lily or stepped back as though she didn't belong. Instead, She found a natural balance, suggesting activities, but deferring to Nathan on decisions, engaging with Lily without talking down to her. By late afternoon, they found themselves at the children's craft tent, where Lily became engrossed in making a beaded bracelet. Nathan and Gabriella sat on a nearby bench watching her. "She's remarkable," Gabriella said softly, "so focused and creative." "She gets the focus from her mother," Nathan replied. "The creativity, well, I'd like to think that's from me." Gabriella turned slightly toward him. "You don't mention her mother often." Nathan kept his eyes on Lily. "Not much to say. Emma decided parenthood wasn't for her when Lily was 2, signed away her rights and moved to California. We get a birthday card most years." He felt Gabriella's hand cover his on the bench between them. "I'm sorry, that must have been incredibly difficult." "It was at first," he admitted. "But honestly, we've been better off. Lily deserves someone who wants to be her parent, not someone who resents the responsibility. You've done an amazing job with her." Nathan finally looked at her, struck by the sincerity in her eyes. "Thank you. That means a lot." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Gabriella spoke again. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Why haven't you been snatched up by some lucky woman?" "You're kind, talented, obviously a wonderful father." Nathan laughed softly. "When would I have time to meet this mythical woman? Between work and Lily, I barely have time to sleep." He paused. "And I guess I got used to it being just the two of us. It would take someone pretty special to make me want to change that." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Nathan thought Gabriella might say something more. Instead, she squeezed his hand gently before letting go. "Daddy, look." Lily bounded over, proudly displaying her finished bracelet. "I made it for Gabriella. It has blue beads because that's her favorite color." Nathan looked at Gabriella in surprise. "How does she know your favorite color?" "We discussed very important matters while you were buying cotton candy," Gabriella explained solemnly, accepting the bracelet with exaggerated reverence. "This is beautiful, Lily. I'll wear it every day." As the festival wound down and the evening grew chilly, they walked back toward the parking lot. Lily, exhausted from the day's excitement, asked to be carried. Nathan hoisted her onto his shoulders, where she rested her chin on top of his head. "I had the best day," she mumbled sleepily. "Me too, sweetie," Nathan replied, glancing at Gabriella, who walked beside them. "Me three," Gabriella added with a soft smile. At her car, Gabriella hesitated. "Thank you for today. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed myself this much." "We should do it again sometime," Nathan said, lowering a half-asleep Lily to stand beside him. "I'd like that." Gabriella knelt to Lily's level. "Thank you for sharing your day with me, Lily, and for the beautiful bracelet." Lily surprised both adults by throwing her arms around Gabriella's neck in a fierce hug. "You should come to our house next time. Daddy makes the best pancakes on Sundays." Nathan started to apologize for Lily's forwardness, but Gabriella's response stopped him. "I love pancakes," she said, returning Lily's hug with gentle arms. "If your daddy doesn't mind, I'd be honored to try them sometime." She stood, her eyes meeting Nathan's with a question in them. "Tomorrow's Sunday," he said simply. "If you're free around 10, her smile was answer enough. Sunday morning, pancakes became a tradition over the following weeks. Sometimes they would spend the day together afterward at the park, the children's museum, or just at Nathan's modest home, where Gabriella seemed perfectly content helping Lily with her homework or watching Nathan work in his garage workshop. Other times, Gabriella would leave after breakfast for business obligations, but she never made them feel like an afterthought. She would text during the day, sending Lily funny animal pictures or asking Nathan's opinion on a piece of woodwork she'd encountered. The professional boundary between them blurred further when Nathan's initial 3-month contract was extended. The Morrison building project had gained attention for its meticulous restoration work, and Gabriella had asked Nathan to consider a permanent position with her company overseeing similar projects. "You've completely changed how we approach restoration." she told him one evening as they sat on his front porch after Lily had gone to bed. The contractors listen to you because you know what you're talking about. You've saved us money and preserved the integrity of the building. It's been incredible, Nathan admitted. Working on that scale with those resources. He shook his head in amazement. But I don't have the qualifications for a permanent position like that. I never even finished college. Gabriella reached for his hand, a gesture that had become natural between them. You have something better than a degree. You have genuine talent and understanding. The rest, the business side, you can learn. Her confidence in him was still sometimes overwhelming. I'll think about it, he promised. She nodded, satisfied for the moment, and leaned back in the porch swing they were sharing. I had a meeting with Richard today about the next phase of financing. And, did you convince him to approve your preservation budget? I did, she said, a hint of pride in her voice. But he also reminded me of something important. What's that? She turned to face him more fully. That I've never brought anyone to company events before, not in all the years he's known me. Nathan raised his eyebrows, and you've brought me to several. Exactly. She took a deep breath. He wanted to know if we were dating. The question hung in the air between them. They'd been dancing around this for weeks, the lingering touches, the long conversations, the way they gravitated toward each other in any room. But neither had put a name to what was happening. What did you tell him? Nathan asked, his heart beating faster. I told him I didn't know, Gabriella replied honestly, because we've never talked about it. Are we dating, Nathan? He studied her face in the soft porch light. I'd like to be, he said finally, but there are complications. Lily, partly. She's already attached to you if this doesn't work out. I understand, Gabriella's voice was gentle. And the other complications, Nathan gestured vaguely. You know, you're you and I'm me, her brow furrowed. What does that mean, Gabriella? You're a CEO. You live in a world I've only glimpsed. You go to charity galas and board meetings. I'm a carpenter who struggles to pay for Lily's school field trips sometimes. She was quiet for a moment, then spoke with unexpected intensity. Do you know what I thought the first time I saw you? After you caught me on the ice? Nathan shook his head. I thought, this man has the kindest eyes I've ever seen. She squeezed his hand. Not your bank account or your job title, your eyes. The way you looked at your daughter. The way you made sure I was truly okay before you let go. She shifted closer. I've dated men with wealth and status. Men who looked good on paper and made sense for someone in my position. And I've never felt with any of them what I feel when I'm having pancakes at your kitchen table or watching you explain constellations to Lily in the backyard. Nathan felt something tight in his chest begin to unravel. And what do you feel? Like I've found something real, she whispered. Something that matters more than all the trappings I've surrounded myself with. He reached up to touch her face, his calloused fingers gentle against her skin. I feel it too, I just never thought. That someone like me could fall for someone like you. She leaned into his touch. Nathan, you're the extraordinary one. I'm just lucky you caught me that day. When he kissed her, it felt like the most natural thing in the world, as if all those weeks of growing closer had been leading to this moment. Her lips were soft against his, her hand coming up to rest against his chest as they deepened the kiss. When they finally pulled apart, Nathan rested his forehead against hers. So I guess we are dating, he said with a smile. Definitely dating, she agreed, her eyes shining in the dim light. Though I should warn you, Lily made me promise something last week. Oh, Nathan raised an eyebrow. What's that? She made me pinky swear that if we ever got married, she could be the flower girl and the ring bearer. Apparently, she doesn't want to have to choose between the roles. Nathan laughed, surprised and touched by his daughter's forethought. Getting a bit ahead of ourselves, aren't we? Gabriella smiled, a soft, private smile that made his heart skip. Maybe, but I've always believed in planning for the future. 1 year later, Lily got her wish serving as both flower girl and ring bearer at a small ceremony in the atrium of the Morrison building, now beautifully restored with soaring wooden beams that caught the afternoon light. As she scattered rose petals before Gabriella walked down the aisle, Lily beamed with pride. Nathan waited at the front, hardly believing how his life had transformed. The struggling single dad who could barely keep up with bills now headed the restoration division of Valenti Developments. His work was being recognized throughout the city, and more importantly, his daughter was thriving, loved not only by him, but by the remarkable woman who had slipped on a patch of ice and into their lives. When Gabriella reached him, radiant in a simple white dress, she took both his hands in hers. "You caught me," she whispered, echoing the words from their first meeting. "And I'll never let you go," he promised as they turned to face their future together.